Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really digging into something I think almost every golfer struggles with at some point.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
That incredibly frustrating, inconsistent club path. You know the feeling, right?
Definitely. One minute it's okay, the next, who knows where it's going? Slice, hook. It's maddening.
Exactly. And finding that fairway consistently can feel like, well, pure luck sometimes.
It really can. And, a lot of the usual advice is about feel this, feel that. But feel is so hard to repeat.
It really is. So our mission today is different. We want to cut through that guesswork.
Right. We've got this document, 29.04.2025.208 podcast, struggling with inconsistent clubpath.pdf. And it's full of actual measurable data points.
Concrete numbers, that's what we need. Forget the vague stuff. This deep dive is about giving you, the listener, 4 specific numbers.
4 key metrics you can actually look at and use right away to start improving that consistency.
Okay, fantastic. Let's jump in. Where do we start? The beginning of the swing.
Makes sense. Let's look at P2. That's the takeaway position, basically when your lead arm gets about parallel to the ground.
Okay, P2. What are we measuring there?
It's called the club hand gap. Simply put, it's the distance between the club shaft and your lead hand at that point.
Club hand gap. And ideally, what's the target?
Ideally, you want that gap pretty much close to 0 inches, as close as possible.
0 inches. Wow. Okay, that sounds very specific.
Right.
But the document, it gives some context with tour pros, right?
It does, yeah, and it shows there's actually a bit of variation. For male pros with a driver, it's usually somewhere between -3 inches and 8.4 inches.
-3. So the club is inside the hands.
Sometimes, yeah, or very close. And for the women pros, it's roughly -2.1 to 5.3 inches.
Interesting. So even the best players aren't all exactly at 0.
Exactly. But for the listener, the main thing is to start checking your own number. The document calls it the Club Hand Gap Tracker at BCH.
BCH? Backswing club horizontal?
Yep, backswing club horizontal. It just gives you that first checkpoint in the swing, a baseline.
Okay, takeaway gap, check. Where next? Top of the swing.
Let's go to P4. The very top, we're looking at that club hand gap again.
Same measurement.
Yeah.
But I guess it tells us something different here.
It does. At the top, this gap gives you a clue about whether you're, across the line.
Club pointing way right of the target for a righty.
Exactly. Or if you're laid off with the club pointing too far left or inside.
And what do the pros show here? Driver numbers again.
Yeah, for drivers, men typically range from about -12.1 inches up to 8.5 inches.
Whoa, -12. This seems like a lot.
It can be, yeah. And women pros are generally between -3.2 and 8.4 inches.
So again, quite a spread. It's not about hitting one magic number then.
Not at all. It's more about finding your consistent spot, your sort of sweet spot within those pro ranges. What works for your swing?
Okay, finding my own pattern. And the tracker for this one.
That's your club hand gap tracker at Tata P. Check that, see where you fall. It clarifies that top position a lot.
Got it. 2 down. What's number 3? It sounds a bit more complex. Shaft angle versus shoulder plane.
It sounds it, but the concept isn't too bad. It's just comparing the angle of your club shaft at the top to the angle your shoulders were tilted at address.
Ah, okay. So how flat or upright the club is relative to my setup posture?
Pretty much. For a driver, the ideal range tends to be negative, meaning the shaft is a bit flatter than the shoulder plane. For men, usually -15 degrees to -3 degrees.
And for women?
A little tighter, typically -8 degrees to -3 degrees.
So we're looking for a negative number generally.
Yeah.
And the tracker.
Check your shaft angle versus shoulder plane tracker at DCV. That DCV is downswing club vertical. This angle really influences how you start down.
Makes sense. If you're way off plane at the top, the downswing is already compromised.
You got it. Okay, last one, number 4. This is crucial for impact.
Let me guess. Something about path through the ball.
Exactly. It's swing direction versus stance.
Okay, what's that telling me?
It measures the direction your club path is actually moving horizontally through impact, relative to your stance line, your foot line.
And we generally want in to out.
Yeah, for most golfers aiming for solid strikes, you want a slightly positive number here, indicating an in-to-out path, or at least neutral 0.
What are the pro ranges for this one? Driver again.
Yep. Men are typically between -2 degrees and +6 degrees. Women, generally 0 degrees to +6 degrees.
So women tend to be 0 or slightly into out more consistently.
That's what this data suggests, yeah. Less often out to in compared to the men's range.
And the danger of being too far outside those ranges, like way too much into out.
Well, the document links extreme paths to common faults. Too much out to in often leads to pulls or slices.
And too much into out.
That's often your pushes or hooks. Getting that path close to neutral or slightly positive gives you the best chance at consistency.
Right, controlling the curve. And the tracker for this final metric.
Simple enough. Swing direction versus stance tracker. Check that number to see what your path is really doing.
Okay, wow. So let's quickly recap. We have club hand gap at P2, the takeaway.
Yep. Check BCH tracker.
Then club hand gap at P4, the top.
Check 2OP tracker.
Then shaft angle versus shoulder plane.
Check DCV tracker.
And finally, swing direction versus stance through impact.
Check the swing direction versus stance tracker. 4 numbers.
4 actual measurements, not just feel. It feels like you could really start to connect the dots, see how one position affects the next.
That's exactly it. You track these, you see how adjusting, say, your takeaway gap influences your position at the top, which then influences that downswing plane and the final swing direction. It becomes a system.
It moves you away from just guessing or trying random swing thoughts. You get real feedback.
Absolutely. Data-driven improvement.
So a final thought for everyone listening. Which one of these 4 numbers have you maybe never even considered? P2 gap, cop gap, shaft plane, swing direction.
Yeah, which one might be the missing piece for your consistency?
Focusing on just that one thing, measuring it, understanding it.
Yeah.
It could genuinely change your game. Something to think about.
Definitely food for thought.